Welcome back. I'm your host, Linda Patton, and we're doing coffee chats with the treasurers and talking about Treasury. I have with me two wonderful experts in financial services, Chris Gavani, who has done many years in the banking industry, going back to actually being in the bank itself and being the treasurer for her club since 2005 when it was chartered. Chris has a lot of experience and a lot of background to lend to this particular discussion. My other wonderful expert is Michelle Pitacolis, who has been 4 years as a member of Heart to Heart and recently took over the treasury for that particular club and was instrumental in assisting me in the chartering process of Leaders Worldwide. Without her, I'm not sure we would have actually been able to complete all those applications, get all those payments, and make it all happen in such a way that we actually chartered with 53 people, just a small amount. And Michelle did a yo person's job in making all of that paperwork happen. So I'm Linda Patton. I am the district finance manager for District 57. I do have a fair history in the banking industry, working with Bank of America and Crocker Bank way back when, and then handling associations, professional associations like Toastmasters, and running the treasury aspect of those clubs as well. So welcome. Today we're going to talk about opening a bank account. I know with Leaders Worldwide just chartering, one of the things that we have to do still is open a bank account. And I know between the three of us, we've looked at a number of different banks. And what does it take? What are the kinds of things that you're looking for in a financial relationship with a bank? And Michelle, you've been doing some research around this. Tell our audience what you've discovered.
Well, actually, I just fell into it. I was put on the bank account about 2 years ago while I was president, because we had heard stories about clubs in which the treasurer would disappear and you wouldn't have access to the bank. So just a word of warning, you want to get somebody else on your bank account so that if anything happens, if your treasurer gets sick or leaves the country, you still have access to your funds.
And so maybe takes the funds with them?
Well, hopefully not, but you never know, right?
Right.
So I simply stepped in. I had to go down to the bank. There are certain things that you need to do to get on a bank account that's already there. You have to have minutes from your club meeting saying that you have the right to be on the bank account. And you probably have to have some ID to prove that you're who you say you are. And you actually have to be there with the person who is the signer, the current signer on the account. So I went down and signed up, and I got this lovely little debit card, which I happily put away and didn't do anything until we started opening this new club. And it was beyond the capability, the technical capability of our current treasurer. I decided to take over the treasury and step up. And it was a very, very fast learning curve, because I had to start accepting payments really fast. I have to say that given that we're sheltering in place, I'm really happy that I learned how to do this, because I do all the banking online. I don't have to go anywhere, which is a good thing, because the bank isn't exactly around the corner. So, and I'm just not driving that much right now, right? Less opportunity to catch the virus. Anyway, I signed up, and I want to tell you about this particular bank because I called them up. First of all, I have to say that every bit of experience I've had with this bank has been wonderful. They have been supportive. They talked me through how to use the cell phone app to take checks. They talked me through it. They talked me through how to connect PayPal to them. They were just wonderful. Any questions I had, they were there. But the best thing of all was that I found out they don't charge for nonprofits. Nothing, nada. You do have to have $100 to open an account, but after that, They love you. And I said, honey, I'm going to share your name, and it's US Banks. And they have banks pretty much all over the Bay Area. And once you sign up, once you go down there, you can do all your banking online. You don't ever have to show up. All you need to sign up is you need your articles of incorporation, your meeting minutes that say indeed you are entitled to be on there, and your nonprofit, proof of nonprofit status with the state. And you probably need your EIN number, which you're going to get from Toastmasters if it's a new club. That's pretty much all I have on this. It's pretty simple. $100, articles of incorporation, meeting minutes, and nonprofit with the state.
And Michelle, I had the opportunity to look at a couple of other banks, Bank of the West, which is where the District 57 money is right now, and similar to US Bank, who I also like very much, $100 deposit to open the account. And they do charge $10 for any month that you don't have a deposit. So all you have to do as a club is make sure that there's one deposit, and it waives all banking fees. Similar to what you're talking about as far as the documentation that they're looking for. And I do have to say that they've also been very open and helped me with the district finance side, and to make sure that everything is moving the way it's supposed to. The interesting thing though is if you do too many checks, they charge you an excess withdrawal fee, which I wasn't expecting. But we had written 99 checks at the end of the fiscal year, and they all started to come in, and they charged us for that. So do look at not only what do they charge you on a monthly basis, but do they have any fees around excess numbers like withdrawals or even deposits perhaps. I also checked with Patelco, and unless you're a credit union member, you cannot get an account there, even though they have a great free account for individuals. They also, you have to be an individual depositor before you can get a business account at Patelco. So that probably does not work for most clubs, because I doubt that many of them have a Patelco account. The other one that I did check was Mechanics Bank, who Michelle and I both use for our businesses. And unfortunately, as we were talking about, they had a nonprofit account, but in their recent mergers and acquisitions, that particular account went away. And so, to be honest, they were not very user-friendly for accounts such as ours. So probably not one that I would recommend at this particular point in time. Chris, do you have anyone that you love?
Well, as a longtime employee of Wells Fargo, I mean, I get a lot of service from them, but you know, ordinarily they give really great service. But what I will tell you is that with any bank, now you have to separate them by the national banks, which are from coast to coast, which is very nice. US Bank is coast to coast, Wells Fargo, Bank of America is, but there's also your local boutique banks and private banks. So Mechanics is one, Fremont Bank is another. You have Community Bank of the Bay in Oakland. Talk to whatever bank you bank with, because if you have a relationship, it may make a difference to help you set up an account. But the other thing I will say to you, and I think Linda, you brought it to all of our attention, is that things change. If there's a merger or an acquisition, they may discontinue an account, grandfather it, and start another account. Don't ever let that sway you, because you could go in and just change the type of account you have without changing the account number, just by looking at things that a disclosure or anything that would tell you exactly what it was that you may be needing as a minimum deposit, average balance you have to keep, or there may be something else. And I think you mentioned a little bit about that you have to make one deposit a month. Well, there's also some that say you can do so many transactions, debit card or whatever. And certainly when you pay your dues, that happens. So just pay attention to what the bank has, because you'll be grandfathered or put into an account that they think will mirror what your behavior is, whether it may be the account you want for the long term for your club.
Okay, Michelle.
I wanted I just had a brainstorm. If you do get an account that requires you to make a deposit every month, you could collect your dues and both international dues and your club dues, and then only transfer, if you're using PayPal or Venmo, only transfer the stuff that you need for paying immediately the international dues, and then month by month you bring a little bit over for 6 months. So that is a way of avoiding. Of course, who wants to do that? And I would check out US banks and see if they require that. I don't know if they require that. I think this is the first month I'm not making any deposit. I don't think I made a deposit no, I might have made a deposit last in October, but I don't think so. And I don't remember getting charged, but I will check that out.
You can always go online to any bank you're with and look at the features and benefits of the type of checking account you have and what other possible checking accounts might be available, because they all have a variety of them. Many banks have checking accounts that are alike, and some of them have little things that make them different, but they all provide a service, whichever bank you feel comfortable working.
Absolutely. So Michelle, we talked in our previous recording on things like Venmo, Zelle, and how to do electronic deposits. What kinds of challenges are you having with collecting either dues or the club fees in the COVID situation where we are sheltering in place?
Well, I think that's one of the things that I liked about PayPal, was that we were able to collect both the international dues and the club dues at the same time. And then I could simply use my debit card from my bank to pay the membership fee. And then all the rest of the money just stayed in the bank account. And that was the way of making sure that people didn't separate. And we used to do it separately. We used to have all of our officers call up individual people because they have the access to the payment portal on Toastmasters International, and we would have them make sure everybody paid, and then it would be up to the treasurer to collect the club dues, the individual club dues. And that there were probably a lot of people who never paid their club dues because it would fall into the cracks, but we don't do that anymore.
So you collected as a total, like in our case, $51.
That's correct.
And then the treasurer's responsibility is to separate them out, shush them out. One to go to Toastmasters International, and then to keep the club dues.
Well, since you put all of it into the bank for the club and use the club credit card to pay the international, it automatically separates by itself. It isn't an issue at all. You're only paying the $45. And then, of course, if people want to send the check, they send the check for the full amount, the $51 in our case. And then I deposit all that directly into the bank for the club.
And Michelle, do you keep a set of books? In other words, do you have a budget for the club? And do you set up, receivables and payables on a regular basis, or are you just relying on the bank statements?
I've just been relying on the bank statements. We haven't been buying anything lately.
Surprise.
But I do keep track of and keep all the receipts from anybody who needs to be reimbursed. Right now, because we're not meeting in person, we're having a lot fewer expenses. We're going to also maybe be talking about Concur in our next video, and how that works and how that's going to influence us when we actually start using money. But right now, the only money that we have in our bank account is the money from club dues and anything left over from the previous year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. The interest of, what do we do in a virtual world with the money that's sitting there? And we will talk about Concur in our next video. Chris, any last thoughts on bank accounts, where to go, what to look for, how to manage them?
I think it's a personal choice. People feel very strongly about the type of bank that they deal with, and wherever somebody has their personal account, most of the time that's where they put their business account as well, because they have a relationship. And I believe that that's probably the best way to select a bank. If you're fee adverse, then that's something, a discussion you have with them, or go to a bank that doesn't charge you a fee. And in my own experience after COVID started, I will tell you that only 2 people paid by check. The rest of them paid by Venmo and Zelle. And it was very easy to just transfer the money directly to Toastmasters International and keep the remainder of the club dues right there in the club.
So does Toastmasters International take Zelle?
No,
No. Okay. So you're okay.
I'm using my debit card
Yeah.
to pay, selecting all those people that I'm going to have pay. And of course, much probably like you, we didn't have 100% of people pay, but that doesn't mean they still won't pay. And,
Right.
you know, continue tracking down if it's easy for them. And it was so easy to do Zelle and Venmo that it really helped a lot to collect the dues initially very fast up front.
And it's also very easy then to transfer it to Toastmasters International.
Very easy.
Okay. Michelle, any last comments?
I did, but it slipped away from me. I forget what that last comment was. You'll have to, we'll just have to pick it up the next time if I remember
Okay.
what it was.
All right. So thank you all very, very much. This has been a really insightful conversation about banking and bank accounts and what to do and how to do it. And I think that serves our viewers very well. And so I will say goodbye to you this time, and we'll come back shortly with the last segment of this Ask District Finance. And we're going to talk about my favorite subject, Concur. Until next time, see you soon.